Viva FM, the number one choice in Leeds.
Am I in an abusive relationship? And often people don't know.
Yeah. What is a sign really that, a
Yeah,
person should say, oh, I don't deserve this. The feeling is that when does their
yeah,
mindset change?
yeah,
And how many people do you think they carry on suffering through and go through their life without complaining
yeah.
to anyone? Is there any figures or, I don't know, they probably won't be if they've not been in contact with
Mm.
you. But do you think, is there a lot of people who just carry on suffering?
Yeah, there are. There are. We're sure that there are. Obviously, as you say, we don't know unless people come forward. We don't really know um, how many people are experiencing. We know that the British Crime Survey that's done every 10 years, which is anonymous, asks people about their experiences of crime, and domestic violence and abuse is part of that. And from that we get figures. Such as 1 in 4 women will experience some kind of domestic violence or abuse in their lifetime. It might be higher than that, it might be lower than that, but
Mm.
they're the sort of figures that
One
we are
in
used to
four women.
hearing them.
Mm.
1 in 4. Um,
And
so
these are the figures which are reported, sort of, and people make up,
these are from people being asked questionnaires, but they're not necessarily the numbers of people that come forward, because a lot of people don't come forward because a lot of
Yeah.
people are scared too. They don't want to lose, friends and family. They don't want, when you're in a relationship and you might have children, you might have property together, to leave a relationship anyway is very difficult, if people decide to break up. But when you've got violence or abuse on top of that, it becomes much more difficult. And society tells us things. There are norms within society that we live by, and so sometimes women can feel in a situation where they don't know what to do for the best, because some people are saying you've got to stay together as a family unit for the sake of the children, and lots of women will put their children first, and they'll think that the children deserve 2 parents and they want to stay together. But then other people are saying you've got to leave for the sake of the children, and that might be they're worried about the risks to the children. They might have professionals involved, and if you're torn between both of those views, then whatever you do is wrong, because somebody will say you've made the wrong choice. And often victims of domestic abuse are in turmoil about what to do.
Yeah.
And so many will just put up with what's going on, because they think that it's the right thing to do, even though it might not be the right thing to do.
Can I ask you your personal opinion on this? What do you think is the right thing to do, really? Obviously, you've got a lot of experience in this. Should these women stay silent and, okay, for their kids' sake, family's sake, just carry on suffering, or should they really speak up?
I think that it's up to people themselves. Nobody should ever tell anybody what the right thing to do is, because everything is different for different people. The thing is, we don't walk in their shoes and we don't know what their life's really like.
Of course.
But what I would say is, don't stay silent, and don't be on your own. You don't have to make any choices that you don't want to make. You don't have to make any decisions that you don't want to make.
Yeah.
But the hardest thing is suffering on your own. So talk to somebody. And my advice to anybody would be talk to somebody. You don't have to report it to the police. You don't have to phone our helpline, but you could talk to a midwife, you could talk to a family member or a friend or a teacher, or, somebody that you might trust. And just because you talk about it doesn't mean you have to do something about it. And that's what a lot of women say to us is, what have I got to do now? And what we would say is, you haven't got to do anything now. Just talking about it means that you're not suffering on your own. And that's my kind of the biggest thing that I would say to anybody. Our helpline is open 24 hours a day, and it's completely anonymous. So somebody can ring up and chat
Yes.
We've got staff that speak different languages, and you don't have to say your name, and you don't have to do anything at the end of that. And sometimes that's quite therapeutic, because you know what you want to do, and you
Yes, of
know
course.
whether it's worth staying in a relationship. And we would talk to people about the risks of staying in it, because children witnessing violence is not right, you know, and it's a child protection issue. Children should not be in an environment where they or their parent is at risk.
If the children have been through this sort of relationship, they would have seen everything what's happening. When they grow up, does it affect their life at all?
Well, absolutely, because what happens in our formative years affects all of us, doesn't it? It makes us who we are.
Yes.
Children are resilient, you know, and not every child that witnesses violence will become violent.
Yeah.
Not every child that witnesses it will go into a relationship and be a victim themselves, but many will, and many will be affected by this. And so what's really important is that we don't forget the children in this. And, you know, children need support as well, and they need to be able to talk about what's happening in their family or what's happening to them. And they've got to have an outlet to be able to talk, because it affects their development, it affects their mental health. And, you know, every adverse childhood experience that a child has will make their future more difficult. And so, you know, if they're in an environment of turmoil or fear, then, you know, they will deal with that in whatever way they will, and they might withdraw into themselves, they might get quiet, they might act out, they might become violent. And we need to see if children that we know are acting in this way, is there a reason for that? And, you know, let's give the kids some support as well.
So the mothers maybe should realize that, you know, by staying silent and going along and suffering all this time, it may affect their children when they grow up as well. So that shouldn't be the prime reason.
It's a really difficult position to be in, isn't it? Because,
of course,
you know, everyone wants the best for the children, and it's sometimes difficult to know what that is. And we don't live our lives in isolation, so we all need external input, don't we? We can't do everything ourselves, and so just getting somebody else's perspective on something, to give you a hand, to help you out, to realize what you're going through, makes everything else easier to deal with, really.
Oh, that's very nice of you to give us time today, Nick. Thank you very much indeed. We are actually running out of time a little bit here. We would love to have you again, because, you know, what we are intending to do is carry on with this this project, and throughout the years, I think, bring different perspective to people, and to the forefront in their minds all the time. Is there anything, how can people get in contact with your organization? The phone number the best way, or log on to?
Either. So I'll give you the 24-hour helpline number, which is a Leeds number, 0113 246 0401, or you can internet, which is really easy. It's ldvs.uk. That's it.
LDVS.
.uk. And you can have access to support at any time of the day.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Lovely talking to you.